When it comes to EVE Online, every player wants to know the most effective tactic available. You want to know the meta. The meta controls everything. It determines what will and will not happen. Knowing the meta will alter your views, make you question your reality. It might even make you laugh. And now, you're part of it. You're watching The Meta Show.
Morgan Freeman voice.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Meta Show. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all that jazz. I am Brice Rubal. I am joined by the Matani. He is the Grinch.
Hello,
I am Max
hello.
on this show. That's how we do things on The Meta Show. How are you all doing? I hope you all are doing well. Mittens, how are you?
Doing pretty good, actually. We have the Christmas special, and things have been going pretty well in space, which means that I get to sort of like chill out and kind of smug. It's always a good sign when your enemies are like putting Fortizars and things up there that have like so-and-so sends their regards at you, because I've been watching NC Dot for like the last while. Whenever I talk shit about Bob, be all like, oh my God, like, you know, goons are not over the whole Great War thing. Da, 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 da. And then these dumbasses put Vince was having a little tantrum and put down Sir Molly sends his regards, Fortizar and all, which basically is just proof that for like the last God knows how many years, you just know that they mad. And I love to see it. But yeah, no, things are, we actually have a big show today.
A lot of stuff on the show today.
Going through the notes, just so people are aware, we are not going to have a show next week, because that would be like Christmas Eve or something or other.
The day after Christmas. Hopefully you guys are all playing your PS5s and not worrying about other stuff.
So we are going to be doing our like end of year special. So we're going to be talking about some of the biggest events that have been happening in EVE. We are obviously going to be talking about war news as well. And just in general, like there's been a lot, and maybe if we're lucky, Fountain Frank will come spend some time with us, but we'll have to see. But goddamn, it's been just trying to do a year in review. There have been years in the past where we've gotten together on the Meta Show in previous seasons of the thing, and you're talking about here's what happened. But doing a year in review for 2020, wow, right?
Exactly.
Like, fucking 2020, exactly. Guys. So yeah. Oh, also speaking of fucking 2020, this we just got Art Cursus just through 10 subs at the crew. So thank you very much, guys. Looks like we're doing some hype train stuff.
Level 5 hype train at the beginning of the show. That's a good sign. We always appreciate that.
Always good. All right. Well, Brice, why don't we let's get stuck in. Where we're going first.
All right. So to do this, we're going to do the top story. Obviously, is going to be our top 10 biggest things that happened in EVE, according to Brisk and Mittens. And yes, we are biased, but that's what's going to be the top story. All right, now listen. There's a ton of stuff that happened this year. And we had to boil it down to 10 plus an honorable mention. Now, I know that you guys, there are going to be some things that are on this list you guys are not going to like. There's going to be stuff on this list that you're going to argue with us about. There's going to be, how could you leave this off? If you're a wormholer, you're going to be mad because we don't talk about you at all. And if you are in the other side, you're going to get mentioned obliquely. But in the end, this is the stuff that we thought was the biggest stuff in 2020. You may have differing opinions. That's fine. And I'll run through, there were a handful of stuff that I do want to at least acknowledge happened that we're not going to get to because they were big, they were important things that we want to mention and we want to bring up, but that they weren't the biggest stuff that we care about. So, beginning in 2020, I mean, we had a ton of stuff that happened this year. We had the red dot started. I don't want to remember that, so it's not on the list of biggest things, because I don't want to even remember that it was a thing. We've got the Abyssal Proving Grounds started and the end of Abyssal PvP. That was a kind of a big deal. That was new content that was added. We had changes to structures. We had 2plex for good campaigns. We had Chappie's roam. I love Chappie. That roam was amazing. I want to mention it. Probably not top 10 material. The Event T tournament was a big deal. I thought it was like the New Alliance tournament, so I wanted to give them a shout out. That should be another honorable mention. CSM got term limits. There was other kinds of stuff that happened. But to start, here is our top 10 list of biggest things that happened in EVE this year. We're going to start off. Here it is, our top 10 biggest EVE moments of 2020. And we get to keep Max and the Grinch on the screen so you know who's here. First one, honorable mention. Asher in the CCP Phoenix Quadrant trailer. To me, that was a huge thing. And it's especially a huge thing because I feel like there were a lot of guys that saw that and were really annoyed that he made it in and it wasn't them. And I'm not going to mention who it is, but the name rhymes with silly. I'm just going to say that.
I just got to point out here, shout out for Asher here, because I don't think there has never been anything like, there's never been a Matani character. There's never been the Matani character has turned up in the odd, what is it? You know what I mean? Those scope videos, right? Things like that. But I'm trying to think of an example of any other player that has had a direct and obvious representation of them in a mainline official trailer, because, it's not just that it's obviously Asher, it's Asher showing off dive bombing a bunch of ravens and shit in a big ass battle in a proper fucking trailer right after he did exactly that. And that does don't worry, that's going to come up again in our top 10 list here. Exactly. But yeah, it's a really impressive distinction, I think.
All right, so here we go. Next up, number 10, and this is completely self-serving. I don't care what you guys say. Number 10 was Fountain Frank and Quirius George. You guys have made this thing a thing. To be honest, it was a joke. It was supposed to be a one-off thing. I'd wear a funny hat and we'd do that, and it'd be kind of cute, and it'd make a funny joke. And then everybody kept asking for it over and over again. And then, and I have to say, I started it out. I called it Baghdad Brisk. Jay named it Fountain Frank, and then it became a thing. And then Jay suggested Quirius George, and then it became a thing. So Jay is responsible. Honestly, you guys got to give credit to Jay Amazingness. I'm wearing the outfit and goofing off, but in the end, these were Jay's ideas. That's why he's our producer, and we're just the talent. He comes up with the good ideas.
Just like I'm going to be wearing a red shirt on the show until the end of the days, because I was I feel sympathy for you, because that's a thing that happens, right? I do have a lot of red shirts, right? I have a lot of black shirts. I have some other colors in my wardrobe, but there comes a point where once your people decide that there's a gimmick, well, you're going to be dressing up in a silly outfit, wearing a beret, and yelling at a stuffed animal for years to come now. And that's just EVE now, right? It is what it is. So
there you go. So, number 10, Fountain Frank. All right, let's get this back up here. We're going to keep going. Number 9, Project Discovery for COVID-19. I think this speaks for itself. The fact that, again, that EVE is not just a video game, but it's also a way for us to come back and to put stuff up there to help the rest of the world. We're providing good information. We're helping to go through stuff. And it's a fun mini game to play, and people get a chance to get out there and feel like they're participating in it.
Citizen science is very useful. I'm glad that it's really nice to see that it's gone from just the exoplanet stuff to something that is incredibly important. And it's also cool that CCB took some stuff that was hard to get. If you really want to get a marshal, you now have a way to do that through these sort of citizen science initiatives.
Exactly. So for me, I think, frankly, the idea that we could turn this around that quickly, get it in the game, and have it make an outcome, I think that's pretty impressive. And I think I would probably, maybe put Plex for Good in there as well, because we did raise a lot of money, raise over $100,000 for COVID research in addition to the Project Discovery stuff. Mm-hmm. So if anything, again, the EVE community, we are the absolute most philanthropic gaming community that I know of. I've never seen anybody else do anything close to this. Maybe you'll have one or two one-off people donate a lot of money, but to have a community come together and put all this stuff, put this stuff together and get it out there, that's a pretty big deal. So number 9 was our COVID-19 Project Discovery. Number 8, the Molia Monument. I think one of the things everybody loves about EVE, again, is that we are a community And we have lots of people who have played this game, lots of people who have played this game for many years. Our player base is aging. When I started playing this game, I was in my 20s. I'm in my 40s now. So when it comes down to it, we're all starting out and starting to get a little bit older. Folks pass away. We want to have a way to remember our friends. And the Molia Monument is now a permanent fixture. Before it was a player-run thing, but there was always the chance that some jerk would go there and mess with it. And now, thanks to CCP, they put a permanent monument up. It's there. We can all go. It's a great place for everybody to go and see. And if you have not had a chance to go check it out, I strongly suggest that you do that. It's pretty cool. All right. That's number 8. Let's get back in here. Number 7. The Horn of Gundor. And this is less about the fact that we sounded the Horn of Gundor as it is, man, it's cool to have guys back that we haven't seen in a long time. I mean, I love getting pings from Mr. V. I love seeing Lazarus Telraven running fleets. I love seeing Grath in fleet. It's cool seeing these old, like, big-name guys that were, like, the backbone of the game coming back. And that's pretty cool. I mean, Mittens, you're the guy that sounded it. I mean, how does it feel to get these guys to come back after all that time?
I have a lot of thoughts about this, and I'm not going to go on for 15 minutes about it. But the Horn of Gundor is a big deal, right? Now, if you're in Paspy and if you're all Gurgoons or whatever, like, just cover your ears here for a moment because I'm going to real talk to my guys and my girls, which is basically one of the most high-risk moves I have ever made in my CEO-ship, right? Like, I have officially been running Goonswarm since May of 2010, so it's been a little bit more than 10 years. Through a number of administrations, Goons have always known and talked about the idea that there would be one day a time where you would have to press the, in case of emergency, break glass, the big red button. And as a result, there's a tremendous responsibility to do that, because if you tell your people to come back and play EVE Online, you really got to have a good reason for it, right? Like, you have to be fighting your hardest. It has to be fucking Ragnarok, because goons are goons. And if you sound the Horn of Gundor for a shitty reason, it's over, right? In terms of, like, the credibility of my leadership and everything. Like, if I had cried wolf with the Horn of fucking Gundor, it would have been GG. So that is something that I've always known, that in case our backs were really up against the wall or if the stakes were really all that high. And I also knew that we could only do it if we had sort of done the homework, right? If by the time that we sounded the Horn of Gundor, I could point to months of fighting, because if we just pressed the button right at the get-go, people would have accused us of being cowards or being lazy, or wouldn't have been a legitimate use of the horn. And so it was terrifying. The risk of sounding the horn and fucking it up, 1. And 2, once you sound the horn, it's terrifying because you don't know if anybody's going to come, right? You let's say you sound the horn, you do your best. Who listens? Who responds to the call? And it is genuinely separate from the whole situation of the war. Like, I'm not trying to talk shit about Paspy on this when I'm talking about the Horn of Gundor thing. It was like a psychic fucking shockwave through the Goonswarm and Imperium community. And I mean that in a good way, because in many cases, people who have not played for years or people who played different eras all came back and are, like, meeting each other. So you have people who are, like, old school, like pre-Goonfleet, like Lordless era, old school goons, like Fernok fucking Dorn came back. The Adge came back. Mr. V came back. There have been a lot of dudes, and these are dudes who not necessarily had played at the same time before. Like, people, like, I don't think Mr. V was around when Fernok and Sitsno and, like, the old school, like, early Lordless, early Goonfleet crew was playing. So it's been fascinating from a cultural perspective, because essentially and this is one of the reasons why, like, the Imperium has been growing stronger during this war, not weaker, is that the pressure that Paspy decided to put under us forced me to sound the horn. And then it's really sort of, like, knit together the different timelines of Goonswarm and Imperium culture, and it has been very fulfilling. So, like, at a time that has been as shitty as 2020 for all of these reasons, being able to play a stupid internet spaceship game with all of your old friends working together has been a wonderful distraction from the shitty things that have been going on outside of the internet. So the Horn was definitely, for me personally, probably the most high stakes and, potentially scary, like we're pressing a button, we'll see what happens here, moments of my CEO-ship, because you can only do it once. It's worked out really, really well. And it has, regardless of how things go with the war, it has been a tremendous regeneration, rejuvenation, and channeling of the energy of our community. And I think that if we hadn't had that old blood, the sleepers awakening, and people coming back and recommitting to the organization, recommitting to the community, recommitting to each other in the fucking trenches, when you're fighting the entire goddamn galaxy, it's a big moment when you're like, fuck, we're exhausted, our backs are against the wall, we've got this. And then you have all of these like, and by axe, like dudes who haven't played in fucking 10 years. And then you're like, wow, the fucking cavalry is here, Gandalf the White on the, it's amazing. So it's that, for me personally, of all the things on this list, for me personally, sounding the horn and getting the whole gang together has been huge and very fulfilling, and I'm delighted that I did. It was absolutely the right thing to do, and couldn't be happier about that. It's just really feel good vibes.
And look, whether it's Kendar or Mr. V or Laz or any of these guys coming back, like you said, I'm excited because I wasn't around when these guys were around. I was a high sec puppy back then. I didn't get a chance to get to know any of these guys, and being able to see them and talk to them and hear their stories, that's pretty cool. So I'm happy that that's on there. It probably should have been a little bit higher, to be honest. Maybe it should have been number 5. But there's some other stuff on here that was big, too.
I have nothing to do with the ordering of the list, and I'm delighted that Brisk actually put together the slides for this. So that might be my number 1, but, we'll keep going through it. Yeah.
All right, so here we go. Up next, number 6. This is more of a bigger Eve thing, and that is the Jita redesign. I mean, for those of us who've been playing, you've been to Jita 1,000 times. Million times probably, and the fact that now it finally looks like something beyond just another stupid high sec station. I mean, it looks like Times Square. You go there, there's all kinds of stuff to see and look at, and the area around it is great. And they reoriented it so everybody's bookmarks that they've had for the last 10 years, 15 years are gone and didn't work anymore. I thought that was pretty cool. I definitely want to put that on the list. That's something that we got to deal with. All right. Number 5. This is a personally one for me. Mittens probably I think would agree with me on it, but I thought that this was one of the coolest things that I had seen in a video game in a long time, and that is when the war was announced, when World War B kicked off. What did we do? Mind One DJ'd our war announcement. Okay, I mean, what other group in this game, when they get announced that the entire rest of the game is coming to kill you, throws a party with their own DJ? I'm just saying.
Love to club, baby. Love to fucking club.
I mean, that's the and frankly, and if those of you tonight, Mind One, Saturday Night's Forum, every Saturday night, Wednesday is the midweek mix, Saturday night is the party. Mind One is a genius. Mind One is a goon treasure. He is not just a goon treasure, he is an EVE Online treasure. And if you guys don't listen to the stuff, I mean, this guy is great. We have a ton of fun. We had fun with him Wednesday night. We made him cry by dumping money on him in the stream. It was funny. I love Mind One.
It happens.
And it's great. And that's what I'm saying. When it comes down to it, this is a game. It's about fun. And I tell you, there was nothing more fun than sitting there watching these guys getting ready to fight and moving and doing all these move ups and everything, and having our own DJ streaming in the background. That was pretty freaking cool. So I got to say, that's a 2020 thing for me. Pretty damn awesome.
I mean, I think it's fantastic. Like, one of the things that makes the Imperium different is that we do things like this. We're big on the whole cultural victory thing. And we also love to party. And, anybody who's seen the way that we roll hard in Vegas and FanFest and everywhere knows that where we are at is usually where the most fun there is to be had. So, it's not just that he's a DJ who DJs for a video game community. Like, we're good at, we know DJs, we know clubs, we know parties, not just me, but there's a whole crew of people who love to party. And so when it's not just that Mind One is a DJ, he is a really fucking good DJ. And Yes, him DJing for the war announcement and the fireworks displays that we had arranged in advance. It was beautiful, and I think it was one of the amusing aspects of something we'll be talking about in a bit, which is the whole idea that there would be the nip slip on July 5th allowed us to plan this huge ass party, because as is obvious now, months and months into this whole thing, we did know in advance, because Pro God Legend can't keep his mouth shut, because he ran around and told everybody that this was coming, which is why we were able to say that the bad guys are coming, withdraw from Cloud Ring, dig the fuck in, get ready, and throw a badass party to start things off.
Exactly. So as I pour myself a second cup of coffee, because that's how the show is today. I'm already on my
one of those
second
days,
cup.
yeah.
We're gonna hit up and we're gonna go to number 4. Up here on number 4, I think it's probably obvious. The Nyarja, the Pakvin, the Trig Invasion thing, that was huge. And it wasn't just huge because it was the main new content that was added by CCP for the game this year. But it literally changed the geography of the game in a way that hasn't happened since they added the drone regions. I mean, it's been years since we had new space, different space. And not only the way that they did it, where it was a player-generated thing. The players got to help pick which systems got flipped. And the fact that, like, they screwed up a massive link between Jita and Amar to get this new region put together, that's a big deal. And it wasn't, that was player-generated. It was a player outcome. They've confirmed that the 27 systems that flipped were because of what players did. That's a big deal. And I think it's one of the very few things that you're going to see in a video game. I mean, look, WoW will change the map, but they're not changing it based on what the players do. Other games will change their map. Fallout, or I shouldn't say Fallout. Fortnite will change its map every 5 weeks, but they're not changing it because the players made it happen. They're just changing it to make it not stale. This was a player-generated thing, and I give CCP credit for doing it. Now, obviously, it'd be nice to have more things to do in there. It'd be nice to have something, fun that would get people going into Pakvin rather than just, talking about it. But that's for 2021. But for this year, at least we can say that was a big deal. It had a big impact. And we have to acknowledge that it was kind of a big thing. You had this look on your face.
That's one of the things that the Nyarja thing is actually one of the things that I am extremely proud about during the course of the war, because it is one of the things where the Imperium literally just put our thumb on the scales of that. And the fact that CCP has actually followed through with the whole Pakvin thing, like the fact that Jita has been severed from Amar is extra funny when they've just gone through all the effort of adding this new Jita model and all. And literally, it would not have happened. I firmly believe, based upon everything that we saw, that Nyarja would not have fallen if the Imperium had not heard about the situation, namely because of now or Sammy's crying about it in broadcasts, got involved, got stuck in, liaised with, and worked with the Trig guys, because, we couldn't have done it alone. But remember how, you may or may not remember this, audience, but Villy, the champion of HighSec, was talking about how Legacy was going to be defending the little guy and making absolutely sure that nothing would happen to precious Nyarja. And they defended the little guy about as effectively as they've planned and managed their war attempts, which is to say, it was an embarrassing disaster that they have attempted to forget. And in fact, one of the main groups of people that were ganking the little guy in Nyarja was our dear friends in Test Alliance Please Ignore. So it's fantastic. We won. We did it despite the fact that Legacy tried to stop us. They got humiliated repeatedly in front of the entire galaxy. And permanently, Jita and Amar have been severed because we did that. That's pretty cool. Pretty smug.
There you go. All right, so we're getting close to we're almost in the top 3. Jonas, won't you be my neighbor? Let's go. We're going to go number 3. And this is, I will say, before I put number 3 up, it's amazing to me that in this year, that number 3 is number 3, because there's still 2 things that are more important than number 3, which is crazy. And number 3 is World War B, the biggest war in the history of EVE Online in nullsec, is the number 3 biggest thing that happened in the game this year. And I think, obviously for us, there's a ton of stuff that's happened involved in it. There's been a ton of things that we've seen back and forth, that this has been the last 6 months of our lives. since July. All of us on the Imperium, the Meta Show, I mean, our shows have all been mostly talking about the war. Trying to fit anything else in has kind of been waiting for lulls. And there are lulls, and it's good because if this had been, I mean, if you remember, and Mittens, you could talk about the casino war. That was over in like 9 weeks. It was over. It was quick. It was It was done.
Most wars only last, and if you look at history, like if you, and you know, don't take my word for it, look at the history of Great Empires of EVE Online, Volume 1 and Volume 2, you will find that there are typically usually 3 months of active campaigning in any given war. Offense or defense. People go for about 3 months. Let's see, we started this officially July 5th, but since we got word of the bad guys doing their thing and we had been on deployment, functionally speaking, the Imperium has been at full-scale war since we deployed the Goonfleet Expeditionary Force back in like May. And then we realized the bad guys were going to try to do their PASPy thing and form the biggest blue donut with 103. Incidentally, we kind of lost track of making fun of the bad guys blowing up 103 alliances in order to do this, right? Like, it's pretty clear now that the Imperium are basically like the last free people who are involved in this galaxy. Like, everybody else is all stuck together with Billy. But yeah, it's again, talking earlier about the Horny Gundor, I think one of the reasons why we have been able to fight for so long, despite the enemy's expectations, is because we have this community, we have this space tribe, which is not the same as what you see on the PASPy side. We are a fundamentally different society, a fundamentally different organization, and that is reflected in the fact that we are able to hold out successfully against the entire galaxy for months and 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 months, and will continue to do so because fuck you, that's why I eat my ass. So yeah, the whole World War B thing has been working out pretty well, I gotta say.
So I mean, basically, listen, the fact that that's number 3, I mean, I'm telling you, this year has had a lot of crazy stuff. Now, I will say the number 1 thing is related to the number 3 thing, but it's number 1 for a different reason. But the reality is, I mean, number 3, this war will go down in history as the biggest war in EVE. I can't imagine a bigger one.
Yep.
Because I can't imagine the way that things are going, and because of number 2, the chances of there being enough stuff and enough people around to make a bigger war, we'll find out. But I think in the end, World War B has been pretty consequential.
Feels good. After losing the casino war, I'm really happy about the fact that we are currently on track to win World War B. It's excellent.
There you go. All right. So number 2 coming up. Number 2. Let me push the button and make it a stick this time. Number 2 is the famine expansion. And I think, you know, when it comes down to it, nothing in this game is going to be the same now. We have seen massive numbers of fundamental changes to the game design, and it's all been around the famine idea of scarcity, higher risk, lower rewards, all kinds of changes. And when you think about it, this is number 2 because all the stuff that goes into that. I mean, think about it this way. It's the ESS changes. It's the dynamic bounty system. It's the mineral redistribution. It's the EHP nerfs on ships. It's most of the balance changes. It was the drone aggro changes that they got rolled back. All the changes to Rorqual, all the changes to anomaly sizes, all the changes to ratting number. I mean, you can see on the, I mean, we'll go into this when we get to the MER later in the show, assuming we get there. But the fact is, the fundamentals of the game have shifted so much this year. And they've shifted towards what CCP wants, which is you to have less stuff, you to be able to generate less wealth, to build fewer ships that cost more. And that's what they're looking for. They want to take away AFK gameplay. They want to make sure that you're physically at the keyboard. Not all of this is bad, but the fundamental thing is scarcity is real, and it has been the name of the game for most of this year. Now, we keep being told that there's light at the end of this tunnel, and the light is not an oncoming train. It's actually the outside, and that we're going to get there. We're going to start seeing better stuff next year. But I'll tell you, you know, and I'll take them at face value when they say that that's true. I'm not going to call them liars because we haven't seen it happen yet. I want to see all these changes come. I'm looking forward to seeing these changes come. I'm looking forward to the players getting to see these changes and find out if they do what everybody's claimed that they're supposed to do, which is create a healthy, sustainable ecosystem. But we're not there yet. And that's because this year has been we got to send you guys to fat camp before we can start giving you food again. And we're kind of at that point. So there's nothing in the game, I think, other than, number one, it was a bigger deal for everybody that played Eve this year than the famine and the scarcity stuff. And, of course, it gave us Merc's amazing rant the other day.
That was a genuinely epic rant. Yeah, it's hard to talk about the scarcity stuff without also just sort of assume as part of that being the number two, like that was, and I get up here and I rant and I herf my blurfs every fucking Saturday, but a game recognized game, that Merkelchen rant blew all of my rants in the past out of the way. Like that was it wasn't just that it was correct. It was like a work of art, and the frustration really came, I think, from a genuine place. Like you can tell from time to time when somebody is like channeling the sort of the id of the player base, right? Like, so when Merkelchen was doing that, it wasn't really like a Gunstorm thing, not really like an Imperium thing. It was really like you got to see a player representative on the CSM, a CEO of one of the largest single player corporations in the history of EVE Online, just fucking speaking truth to power extemporaneously and beautifully, and it made a wonderful impact. And I think that he really managed to get a lot of juice behind him to show CCP that, are you're really sure about doing this and, do whatever? Because the whole, like you're saying, the whole promises of what they're going to be doing in the future, like, God, if I could have a list of I actually wouldn't want a list of all the promises CCP has made about how it's totally going to be great in the future, because it would be a fucking phone book of stuff. But anyway, we'll hope for the best. Brisk is going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And, scarcity.
All right. So, obviously, you guys, I want to put it in the chat. What do you think is the number one thing that happened this year? I think it's obvious. If you can't tell, I want to know what it is. What do you think it is? It's not T2 salvage drones, although I probably should have put that on there. But
the Kittens movement, no, it's not that.
Not that either.
Requiem, it's not Requiem disbanding. I actually forgot about Requiem disbanding because...
Did that even happen? I don't even remember that.
Yeah, okay. That was...
All right. The number one thing that happened in 2020 obviously was the Fury at FWST, the Fury at FWST. This was the biggest fight in the history of EVE, both in terms of the concurrent numbers as well as the number of players involved. It beat BTEC-R. It made the Guinness World Records twice, both for concurrent users at the same time, as well as most people involved. We were there. It was a victory for the Imperium, which I have to say, there's nothing better than being in the Guinness Book World Records twice for the battle that we won. I'm just saying. BTEC-R was nice, but I'll tell you, it feels good to be on the winning side of this one. And
the smug is real. The smug is very real.
And that's that.
Well, one of the things, and I want to sort of, having just talked a little shit about CCB, I want to sort of give some credit there, is it is really nice to see us getting some Guinness Book of World Records. When I say us, I mean the game as a whole, but obviously the Imperium is delighted that we won that battle, that won those world records. But one of the things that has been nice this year, for all of the scarcity stuff and all of our concerns about that, and we do have legitimate concerns, this is our concern phase, stuff like that, compared to 2019 in some of these areas where you had like the chaos era, the drifter stuff and stuff like that, we haven't had to worry about EVE not making a profit or being at risk of getting killed for series. Now, I'm not saying that we're out of the danger zone or anything, but like in general through 2020, despite all the concern face noises that we have been making regarding the scarcity stuff and the impact of that in 2021, within 2020, it has actually been one of the only years where, by and large, I haven't had to stop what I'm doing, look around and go, oh God, is this company going to wreck the game and kill the golden goose? We've been seeing a lot of the work that Brisk and crew have been doing in terms of watching the Pearl Abyss quarterlies have shown us that the game has continued to be profitable. That is good. We want the company to make money. We want more EVE Online. So the whole FWST thing, getting that big press, getting the Guinness Book of World Records, reminding people that EVE is still a thing, that it is thriving, and that we're all trying to kill each other. It's a lot of fun. Water's warm. Please come on in. It's a positive sign.
I like it.
No complaints.
So it makes me happy. And I feel like, as we've seen a ton of things change in the game over this year, the fact that we're still having these big, massive fights, that's pretty important. That's pretty exciting. And that makes me happy. And I want to just say to all of you, because most of the people that are watching this right now, 937 people watching this right now, most of you were in that fight. So you were there with us, and that's cool. And that's part of what makes the game fun. It's part of what makes EVE Online fun. No matter what we do, what we say, what we think, how we play, there are going to be some things that bring us together, and that's one of those things. And it's something we're always going to have. So no matter what happens in this war, Mittens thinks we're going to win. I think we're going to win. I think everything we've seen today in the last couple of weeks demonstrates to me that the bad guys are on the ropes. The gas in the tank is at the E, and they're looking for a gas station, and they ain't seeing none. I'm telling you, the fact is, we're still here. We're still fighting together. That's what this game's about. That's what makes it fun.
Is there a gas station in GE TAC? Is that what's going on?
I don't know, because if it's there, I'm gonna blow it up. I'll tell you, man. And we'll get there. You know what? We should probably segue, because that's the end of the top 10 list. Yeah. Let's go ahead and segue. We got a lot of war stuff to talk about. There's been some fun stuff happening. We had a State of the Coalition from the PASB guys last week. So let's go ahead. We're going to go do our NullSec Power Hour, talk a little bit about the war. Mm-hmm. All right, so PASB does their State of the Coalition. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with it because, first of all, the one thing I have to say is they do it on a Saturday after the meta show, so that by the time it gets to this Saturday around here, it's been 6 days, it's been analyzed to death, no one cares anymore. So nobody was paying attention. Now, I will say there was a transcript of ProGod's speech that was put on INN, and I will get the link and put it in the chat for you guys. So if you want to go read the transcript, that's fine. I would strongly suggest reading the transcript and not listening to the Brave YouTube video, because it will be a lot less distracting. There are no ums or you-knows in the transcript. There's some you-knows in the transcript, but not a lot. I was trying to do a Frank joke where I was going to count how many ProGod made, and he got to like 30 in the first 5 minutes, and I couldn't do it anymore. So anyway, go read the transcript. Anyway, the only thing that is of any substance, based on what I saw from this legacy State of the Coalition, is Villy and ProGod don't talk to each other. Like, ProGod specifically says,
would you really want to be talking? Imagine talking to ProGod every day for like 7 months.
I don't know. It's frustrating to me that the two leaders of the big groups are giving like a State of the Coalition, and they can't keep it together for the same hour saying the same thing. I just find that odd.
Oh, yeah.
It would be like you going up and saying something, and then Asher coming back and contradicting you like 5 minutes later. It's weird.
That does sort of explain a lot about the legacy command system, or lack thereof, and their strategy or lack thereof. I'm going to talk some mad shit here. I'm not wearing a black shirt, so we're going to keep it PG-13 today. PG-13, right? Red shirt, Christmas special. A little bit of smack is to be expected. But one of the things that's funny here is that, look, now it's been a couple of weeks. We all know what's happened here. The initiative's counteroffensive in the legacy backfield has been tremendously effective and tremendously destructive. This forced brave newbies to withdraw to GE TAC. They did it regardless of what ProGod said. Right, like that was a full-blown breakdown in the chain of command, and we know it, and they know it, and by now, because I think this happened a couple weeks ago, whatever. If you didn't realize this, now you do. You're getting it on the Meta Show Live. But basically, what happened there is that the legacy as an organization is such a shit show that they, if you're brave, if you're a legacy alliance, and your backfield starts getting torched by a pissed-off, vengeful initiative, you can't really rely on ProGod Legend to defend you, because what ProGod has been saying has been, because remember, they were going to abandon their stuff and move into Delve and Quarius, because these guys are convinced that Quarius is a great region, even though it has been just our like refrigerator and like truck, like the front yard is full of trailers and
Mittens,
junk
didn't
and
you
old
know
engines.
that Quirius is the most protectable region in the game?
Oh my
according
God.
to PGL. We just don't know how to protect it properly.
These
He
fucking
would have
people.
figured it out.
So, like, you know, it's really interesting if you chart this. And if you're one of the reasons why I'm not like spending too hard on this or being too insulting about it is that I have some degree of sympathy for the line members and Legacy who bought into ProGod's BS. If you listen to Villian ProGod at the start of things, you would hear, we're going to abandon everything, we're going to go to Delph. Then the initiative counteroffensive started, and then various other Imperium entities got involved. And to be fair to everybody who was involved in counteroffensives, offensives from the Imperium up until this point, we have done a lot of attempts at counter offense, right? We have bashed our heads into Legacy over and over and over and over again. And so the success that we're seeing from the initiative thing, the Bastion did a lot of work, Stainrust did a lot of work, various Citizen squads did a lot of work. Like a lot of people in the Imperium have been pushing against these guys. And it is, I think, just sort of like divine justice in a way to see that initiative who had to deal with the pressure at the start of the war. Now they come in, they're fully recharged, and they are on a rampage, and they are slitting throats, and they are seeking vengeance.
And that's one of the things we wanted to talk about because we've got some stuff happened today that was kind of big.
Let's talk about that.
All right. So obviously, and the Legacy SOTC, whatever you want to call it, they talked about this to a little. Oh, the Esoteria thing didn't last very long, and now they're moving to Curse, and that's not going to last very long. They came over this week and they reffed our staging Fort Azar in oh shit, my favorite region, my favorite name system in the game, oh shit 8, in Curse. They came, they reffed it. We had a big fight. We called a CTA, one of the very rare CTAs that we do in it, for the armor timer on this Fort Azar on Thursday. We brought about 450 guys, and they brought 4 times that many. There were over almost 2,000 people in local at one point, and most of them were not us. They were the other guys. And it was Horde, and it was Legacy, and it was everybody that they could, XIX, all the guys that they could bring. And we fought hard. We made a couple mistakes, but we fought hard, but they reffed it and put it into Hull. The Hull timer came out today. In the meantime, between then and now, in it went out. We destroyed all of the jump bridge networks in Ketch, so there's no way for them to easily get from Quirius through Ketch over to Curse to where we were fighting. We took iHubs in a number of key systems, including Fortac O, which was a big deal because that's one of their easy ways to get in here. And we dropped another Fort Azar in the same system on grid with the one that was reffed. That online effectively yesterday. We have Astra houses in the system there and next door with clone bays in them. And today, we had a big fight. They outnumbered us 2-1, but I'll show you the battle report of the fight here. If I can pull it up on the screen, where is my no, that's not it. Where is my battle report screen? That's not it either. There it is. The battle report screen right here. Team A, 293. Team B, 421. Test. Loses 47 billion. And it loses 27 billion. And the Fort Azar online. So there you go.
Oh my God.
I mean, the bottom line is these guys brought double the numbers and they couldn't kill the fort. To the point that this fort now has completely repaired. We have 2 staging Fort Azars in oh shit now, not just one. And the biggest thing, the one thing that I think made all the difference that is not on this battle report is PanFam. They didn't show up for this fight. They were being held off by goons outside, never got over here. This was just Legacy and their friends on their own, 2-1 odds, and they couldn't do it. We have been saying from the beginning,
brutal. It's going to be hilarious.
Horde and PanFam have been carrying this big fat dino on their back for the last 6 months, and this is just more proof of that. So for those who thought that our Curse deployment was going to end with, our one Fort Azar was going to get destroyed and then we'd be stuck and we couldn't do anything because there's no clone facilities anywhere in that area, well, guess what? Now we have like 6. So we're going to be there for a while. Buckle up, guys. the fun's just starting.
I think that, this is significant. So like one of the things we were having a bunch of fights earlier, so we didn't do a fireside. What I was going to say on the fireside essentially is, keep turning up, keep going on ops because the enemy is losing their will. One of the things that happened a couple days ago, I mean, I guess this was yesterday. Time is a blur in 2020 at the best of times. The bad guys formed up like 1,300 people. They formed up like 1,300 people, and they like defended DTAC W, and then they like put null into initial ref or something. But from what I've seen from the chatter, that wasn't what they were originally gonna like. When I see all of the groups from both sides, because like Legacy and PanFam are coordinating with each other less and less because, and I can't fault PanFam for this, they're just sick of the incompetence that they're seeing from Legacy, right? Like there was a fraternity, like a fireside fraternity meeting type thing where they just openly from the fraternity side acknowledge that like if Legacy doesn't shape the fuck up, like there's gonna be some trouble. But as a result, when you do see both Legacy and PanFam syncing up for an op when they usually don't do that anymore, Legacy does a thing, PanFam does a thing, maybe they turn up in the same area. Usually it's because they're going to try to do something more than get an initial ref on null. I believe, I can't prove it, but I am willing to bet that they had plans to either hit 1DQ1 or make a go at Helm's Deep because you just don't see a big form up like that yesterday. And without it be, with it just being like whatever, nothing. So like, I think what we've seen again and again over the course of this war recently is that the enemy got all the way up to T5ZI. And, who knows, maybe they'll get mad at me for herfing blurfs on the meta show and they'll invade and torch 1DQ1 tomorrow. And it might happen. But like at this point, only the most diehard Kool-Aid drinking, like the people that are just completely bought in to the Piggles stuff, I think that this war is going well for PASP. Like the loss of momentum is just visible to everyone. And not only is it visible to everyone, but like, you're when you see autocrats, when you see leaders of large organizations like Norris openly acknowledging that they're not happy with what's happening with Legacy and statements that will eventually become public, it's quite significant. So I'm pretty happy with it overall. That's hard to argue with.
Me too. And I mean, look, I'll tell you, these fleets were fun. We got to fly Ravens again today. I love Ravens. It's my favorite non-trig ship. We had a good time. And yes, I slightly exaggerate when I say it's 2-1. They had more guys than us. They had the ability to get more guys than us. This is their staging. And what I find just hilarious is Brave had 3 people in this fleet. This is their home. This is why we're in their home. We're fighting in Ketch. This is Brave territory. This is what were they doing that was so much more important than trying to kill the staging? I mean, what the NOL thing or wherever, whatever nonsense they were doing in Delve? Or was it possibly because they burned all their jump clones and they couldn't get back in time? And the whole idea that you can live in 16 different regions at the same time and jump
because they're going to hold half the galaxy.
Is a good idea.
The Imperium is bad, guys. The Imperium is bad. We should all get together to attack the Imperium because they hold too much space and have too much influence. Then Pro God Legends gets up like a dumbass and start bragging about how it's not that they're going to give up their space to own Delve. Oh, no. They're going to hold all of the Galactic Southwest. They're going to hold all of the Galactic Southeast, and a partridge and a fucking pear tree. Just believe in Piggles and it will be okay. And it turns out that I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable in saying this. Obviously, the war isn't over. We need to fleet up more. We need to do more things. We need to dig in. Keep on going, guys. Let's see this thing out. But historically speaking, if you can think of one commander in the history of EVE Online with a bigger record of failure than Pro God Legend, the only people that you could debate about their utter, repeated, embarrassing public failures as fleet commanders and as alliance leaders, the only other people that you might be able to compare him to are people who are also in test leadership. So I feel bad for PanFam because they are strong and good fighters. We have fought PanFam for the last, in one form or another, you could say with the NC Dot guys. They're clearly still mad about the whole Bob thing, but we've been killing each other for a number of years, and they're like our designated sparring partner, or in, the Karate Kid, they're the designated like official bad guy or whatever. At least they used to be before we decided the test was next. But like there is a basic level of competence that we have come to expect from fighting PanFam, and I feel bad to see them get screwed by relying on ProGod, but they relied on ProGod, so you get what you get.
It is what it is. So in any event, I expect, look, things are going to slow down, obviously. The holidays are coming up. If you haven't looked at the EVE numbers, the concurrent user counts, they went off a cliff the last week or two, and I wonder why that is. Maybe Cyberpunk? Maybe WoW expansion? I think people are taking a little bit of a break from the war. They're going to go play something else. They'll be back in the new year. But in the meantime, things have slowed down just a little bit. And I think that the fact that we're still here, all the jokes of 1 DQ by Christmas, yeah, it's not happening.
How's that worked out?
Exactly. Maybe Christmas 2021. But hey, we'll get there. Mm-hmm. I think when it comes down to it, the war is still going. We're still here. We're still standing. We're fighting. We're counterpunching now. I'm looking forward to the next phase. Whatever phase we're on, whatever of Vili's 17-phase plan we're on, I think it's pretty clear, at least for us, that at least this phase is going more like the way we wanted it to. Mm-hmm. Now, we're running out of time. There's one thing I do want to get to before we go. Okay. Obviously, this is our last show of the year. We've talked about the scarcity stuff. I just want to highlight one thing. We're going to do our Piercing the Corporate Veil, talk a little bit about the monthly economic report, and highlight the biggest thing that I think you guys need to see if you haven't already seen it yet. All right. So obviously, look, when it comes down to it, we know that scarcity is a thing. It's been a thing. We've seen major changes, at least in the last couple of months, to a lot of different areas. If you look at the MER, the mining numbers, what you would expect. Owasso is doing well. Everybody else is not. Mining is all high sec except for Owasso. Ratting bounties, 4 trillion S generated in Owasso. Everywhere else is below that. But here is the big thing, and I want to put this on the screen because this is unprecedented. All right. In the history of the game, and this goes back only, to like December. Since nullsec anomaly ratting became the main way to make ISK, we have never seen, except for maybe like a briefly during the worst part of blackout, the amount of bounties entering the system is lower significantly than incursion income. That right there, that's pretty crazy, okay? And we're seeing our numbers are dropping to blackout levels in terms of ratting income. Now, McLeod and others have said, and I think rightfully so, and we talked about it on Push Talk a little bit, they talked about it on the TIS last night, that it's likely that unlike blackout, when blackout, those ratting numbers were down, it wasn't because people were ratting as much and getting less ISK from it. It's because they just weren't logging in. Mm-hmm. I think likely now people are still ratting the same amounts that they were, but they're getting less because of this dynamic bounty system. Part of the whole idea of the dynamic bounty system was not that it was going to reduce, cut the faucet off for ratting. It's that it would incentivize people to move around, to go to the places with the highest ratting bounties, get up to those systems with 180% DBS, so that you're making twice as much when you're out there, but it's obviously riskier, and not rat as much in the 40% areas that are up and completely safe. Obviously, that's not working out, and even after the fact that they've buffed the DBS multiple times to get it up to 180% of the base value in these systems that have a lot of deaths and a lot of PvP activity, it's still not enough to get the numbers even close to where they were last month. And the other thing that's important to note on this is that's a partial month number. The DBS didn't go in until November 11th. So that's not even the whole, there was a full week and a half of the old ratting system numbers included in that final total. That's how bad it was. So I think we're going to have to go see next year and get the full December numbers. And I think you're going to see, you take the December numbers, which are going to have the drop in player counts because of Cyberpunk, the drop in player counts because of the WoW expansion, drop because of the holidays. There's always a lag. I mean, December tends to be okay. January tends to be where a lot of the fall off comes in player counts. But we're going to have to see what the numbers are. But man, that's just crazy bad.
This is, this actually goes back to, for me, I want to have a callback to the importance strategically of and socially of the Horn and Gundor thing from earlier, which is one of the reasons why the Imperium has been so successful, is that after sounding the Horn and Gundor, it's not just that we were able to have fresh blood and stuff like that, but the contributions of past Imperium members to the war effort is one of the biggest differences between us and the rest of Eve, of past B, of the Blue Donut, is that unlike them, we have been able to repeatedly replenish our coffers, essentially relying upon our past goodwill that we have built up in our community over more than a decade playing this damn game, like 15 years now. And if it wasn't for the Horn of Gundor and the generosity of Ancient Goons and the Sleepers Awakening and replenishing the finance team and all this other sort of stuff, that would be really scary. Now, thankfully, goons are rich and good at Eve, and there's a lot of us, and we come together when tough stuff gets rough. But it is one of the things that has been freaky about the scarcity stuff is it's just like I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on the mining Isogen and Losec thing. That was like the jumping the shark moment for me with the scarcity stuff. Is I was just like, okay, I am not going to have any expectations other than that this shit is gonna be batshit. And I'm glad that we have a stable, successful, community-oriented, community-invested group in the Imperium. That means that we, unlike our enemies, are much better able to weather this stuff. But my God, that graph is stark.
Yeah.
Yikes. Because they weren't trying to do the ESS thing to like get people to stop doing bounties at all. They were trying to do it to spread things around, and we're gonna manage things better or whatever. And it's pretty clear from that data, if you can rely on the data, which who knows, because we've had problems with that in the past.
That's true.
But, wow, that's stark. That is oof, big oof.
So I mean, that's that for me. That 2021 is going to be, at least I can't speak for the rest of the CSM, but I know for myself, I'm going to be looking at this very carefully, because those numbers being that low is going to start having impacts elsewhere. And we already get a lot of complaining. I hear complaining all the time, and when it comes down, and we get harebrained ideas from people every day about things that should be changed in the game. I'm in the middle of a big fight with some of our own people over ganking, because apparently I'm a bad person, that I think that the guys that are asking for certain things are doing so without having the game's best interests at heart. We get asked for crazy stuff all the time, and part of what we do on the CSM is trying to stop the crazy. And that's a two-way street. It's not just players coming with bad ideas, it's CCP coming with bad ideas. And we're doing our best trying to fix this. Now, I want
same shit, different decade.
We haven't had CCP on the show in a while. I'm gonna request that they come on, because I think we should have a good conversation. I want to hear directly from them and talk directly with them on here in front of you guys to ask some tough questions, to get some tough answers out of them. Because frankly, this year we've taken as many hits as I think the community can handle. And yes, we are resilient. And yes, this game grabs you and you never leave. You never leave. It's like the KGB. Nobody ever really leaves. You may take a break, but you're going to come back at some point. I think we're putting that to the test, and I don't want to be stuck in a position where we do that, and I was there, and I had the ability to influence the process and say, this is a bad idea, we shouldn't do it, and I wasn't able to do that, and then bad things happen. I don't want to go back and say, I told you so later. I'd rather them come to tell me and say, hey, you thought this was going to happen, you were wrong. I'd be happy if I'm wrong. I think Merc will be happy if he's wrong. I think Nom will be happy if we're all wrong about what's going on. But I'll tell you, the player base, when this war is over and COVID is over and we all have our vaccines and we're going outside again and the war is over and we're not logging in every 5 minutes, I think the numbers are going to look a lot worse than they are, and they're artificially propped up by stuff that's happening. And when those things go away, and they will, then I think we're going to look around and we're going to say, where did everybody go? And they're going to say, well, I'm going to do something else because they've taken away all the stuff that I like doing in the game.
Yeah,
I mean,
because us putting Test of the Sword in the aftermath of this, like, as the enemy loses momentum, how this war is going to end and how we're on course for winning it, barring Black Swan events, fuck ups, or who knows what, is not going to be able to sustain interest in the game at the level that this has been, because most of the interest in the game militarily has come from the PanFam side versus the Imperium side. And Legacy is there. They're a distraction. They have numbers. They have, whatever. But the way this is going to go is at some point, they're going to lose their numbers threshold. Maybe they'll make another run on 1DQ1. That would be a battle I'd be very interested in having. I mean, that's why we put 5 keep stars on that grid in 1DQ1, is to create the Hell Zone. Or if they want to storm Helm's Deep, like, we have prepared these space fortresses for these fights. And I assumed that they were going to go for them when they put a keep star next door to our staging in T5ZI. But when we get into post-war test is next, like, we're going to go after test kind of mode. I don't think it's going to be lasting until next July. I don't think it's going to, I don't want to say how long it's going to take because, I don't want to, write a check with my mouth that my actions can't cash. But I don't think Test or Legacy is going to be able to stand up against a pissed off revenge seeking Imperium in a post T5ZI environment. Now, I'm looking forward to that, but CCP shouldn't be depending upon that, like keeping people's interests or content, because, well, we'll see what happens. Maybe Pro God Legend will suddenly start living up to his aspirational name and be either a pro, a god, or a legend. Well, he is actually becoming legendary for repeated humiliating public failures in war after war after war and campaign after campaign. Like, whatever. It's
but they've never lost a war.
It's rude to interrupt your enemy when he is making a mistake. So please, I take it all back. Pro God Legend is great. Paspy, you guys are doing wonderful. Keep following Piggles. You're doing great, honey. Nothing to worry about. All right. We're almost at the end of the show. We promised a war update, so we need a war update. So let's get that out of the way. We'll do our war update, and then we're gonna sign off here. So here we go. All right, everybody. I am Fountain Frank. I am here. Sorry it took so long that time. I had to stop. I had to log out of Cyberpunk to come on the show because I've been playing that a lot because, that's been fun. I'll tell you, it's Christmas time and we got George out of jail and he's here and he's hanging out. He's got his new t-shirt and I'm full of Christmas cheer.
On the web for his hanging out t-shirt. Check it out.
What the hell was that? Shut up, Siri. I don't even know what the hell is going on this show anymore. I got random stuff happening in my office. Listen, for all of you, first of all, I'd like to thank Brisk for putting me number 10 on the list. I think I should have been number 1, but, whatever. Guinness Book of World Records, fuck that. It's me. Thank you for acknowledging how cool I am. I appreciate that. Number 2, thank you to Horde. Horde, I love you guys. I love you guys so much. You are my favorite alliance that's not in it and Goons. And I love thank you for not coming today. Thank you so much. Because I think I was looking at this battle report that Briss put up earlier. And the fact that Horde's not on it, that's amazing to me. Because I'm sure if you were there, the thing would have died. So that's just when it comes down to it, from me to you, thank you. That's the best Christmas present I've gotten in the last 5 minutes. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So, for me, for George, 2020 was a great year. Thank you all for coming out. George has managed to stay out of jail for like a month, which is pretty good for him.
It's long for him, yeah.
I mean, he's doing a lot of bad stuff, and he hasn't done anything bad lately. So hey, it's saved me money. I don't have to go bail him out anymore, and that's helpful. And we have lots of fun. So from Fountain Frank and Curious George to all of you Meta Show watchers, have a Merry Christmas. I hope you had a happy Hanukkah. Have a happy Kwanzaa. Have a happy end of the year. Fuck 2021. Fuck 2020. We'll see you in 2021. Maybe next year will be better. And I'm out. I'll see you all next time for the show. So, Mittens, over to you.
I echo that sentiment. I mean, I think that's basically it for us. Fuck 2020. Let's look forward to a better year. I mean, to be fair, 2020 is ending on a kind of a high note, assuming that we end up continuing to succeed as we have been, and things continue in the current direction. So yeah. I actually don't really have anything else to say. I've got to wait for him to get back though before we can officially end the show. But it's been real. I mean, this has seriously been like one of the most intense years in general. And to end things on a sort of a nice note after relentlessly making fun of Pro God Legend, which I'm not going to take any of that back. But to end things on a nice note, it does seem like for those of us who are involved in the war, Asher had proposed that, maybe we should let people spend some time with their families and stuff, and that the Imperium at least has announced that we are backing off our offensive actions such that there aren't going to be any new structure timers created during the holidays, such that we can give everybody a break. We haven't seen commitment from all of our enemies, but some of our enemies have posted that they're going to be respecting that as well. Obviously, if you're in the Imperium, I need you guys to be on deck and aware that potentially Pro God's going to Pro God, but it does look like we all get a chance to sort of rest and relax and enjoy a Christmas break, which is awesome, because if there's ever been a year that you really deserve a break over the Christmas holiday, it's fucking 2020. So good luck. God bless everyone. Thank you for watching the show all this year. Thank you. I want to give some shout outs because of the last show of the year. Shout outs to Brisk. Shout outs to Jay Amazingness. Shout out to Life Shifter. Shout out to Marana. Shout out to January Valentine. Shout out to everyone who has been involved in this process. And also thank you to our audience. I think that we as an organization, when I say this as an organization, I don't mean the Imperium, though that too. I'm talking about the Meta Show and our little thing that we do every Saturday when we get back. We have inventions this year. We've got Fountain Frank. We've got the color shirt scheme. We didn't have that before. Now we've got color coding for this. Asher announced the fact that I never really understood my role, but ever since Asher said, "Oh, you're a heel in wrestling and you're playing the Vince McMahon character," and I'm like, "Oh, I get it. I'll do that more now." So I hope. Genuinely, I do hope that you guys, even actually, especially the people that hate our guts and hate watch the show, I hope that you have found it engaging and entertaining. And we put a lot of work into this, and the crew and Brisk and everybody who's not me puts a lot more work into that, because these guys are coming up with all this stuff, and I just try to do my best to keep up with everybody. I really appreciate it. I think we have made a great job and a great effort towards it during an otherwise shitty year. And it's really cool to have things go well during 2020 of all things. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for hate watching if you're hate watching. And we will see you in 2021. Absolutely. All right, everybody. From the Imperium News Network and the Meta Show, have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2021. Like I said, no show next week. The week after, January 2nd, we will have a show. We will see you all then. From INN, your newest EVE Online Twitch partner, we will see you guys in the new year. Pine cones to Linda Est, and you stay classy, New Eden.